Morning members, welcome to the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Agenda item 1, attendance. Have we had any apologies? Ross?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've had apologies from councillors Pam Cameron, Alan Jones, Brian Morby, Norma Parish, Colette Thomas, Wayne Tomlinson, Veronica Crick, Phil Seaborn, Von Marchant and Gwyn Smith. Thank you, Chair.
Members, are there any other apologies you're aware of? No? Okay, thank you. Item agenda 2, declarations of interest. Linda, are there any?
Only those interests that I know would have been declared at the workshops. They would need to be repeated here, and I think Councillor Rees, you may have declared in relation to...
Yeah, I'm a trustee of CoStar.
Trustee of CoStar. And I think those are the only ones that need to be declared for the moment. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 3, the Revenue Budget and Medium-Term Financial Plan 2016-17 to 18-19, potential mitigation options, output of the scrutiny budget workshops and formulation of recommendations to Cabinet. I'm going to hand you over to Lynn Williams now to give you a brief overview of what today's meeting is going to be about.
Thank you, Chair. Members, as you are aware, we've undertaken the scrutiny of the budget in a slightly different way this time. You've had 2 budget workshops, which has accounted to about 5 to 6 hours of scrutiny time, where you've had the opportunity to go through each of the budget savings proposals put forward by each service area and discuss those in detail with the relevant chief officers. So you've had a chance to understand the implications both on staff and service delivery. And you were asked at those workshops to say whether you either fully supported the proposal, whether you were not supportive of the proposal, or whether you wanted further information to be sought by the Cabinet before you could support that. You were also asked to suggest other savings proposals that perhaps hadn't been explored to date, and they were all captured on the workshop sheets. The report in front of you today is a very short summary of the financial paper that was presented to you on the day by Dave Lilly and Councillor Anthony Hunt. And then there's 4 appendices which collects or presents the collective outputs of the workshops. Appendix 1 is all those proposals that were fully supported by any table that looked at them. As you will know, not every table in each of the workshops had the time to scrutinise each of the budget proposals, but they were all covered by at least one table. So Appendix 1 sets out the ones that were fully supported. Appendix 2 sets out the proposals that were not supported by any table. Appendix 3 sets out any alternative savings proposals that were suggested by scrutiny members during the 2 workshops. And Appendix 4 sets out the savings proposals that weren't fully supportive in any way. So they weren't supported, they weren't not supported, but there were caveats around them. So they're all collectively presented to you now in Appendix 4. The scrutiny activity today is to formulate your recommendations that will be put forward to Cabinet tomorrow when they consider their next budget paper. And what we're asking you today is endorse the recommendations to put forward to Cabinet. So if I can just take you to paragraph 3.1 on page 5. So you're being asked to use the outputs presented to you in the appendices to say whether you are supportive, whether you recommend into Cabinet the savings proposals outlined in Appendix 1. If I pause there, whether you are supportive of that.
Okay, can I have a show of hands? Everyone who supports... Sorry. Councillor Rees.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure. It's not clear to me where it's... As I don't support any of the proposals. So I want to be sure that I'm not seen to be supporting them through either agreeing with the recommendations or anything else that's in this report.
I thank Councillor Rees. The only thing we can do is note your views. As you all know, scrutiny is it needs to be a team effort. You need to have a consensus of support to put forward to the Cabinet. The Cabinet needs to formulate a balanced budget and a medium-term financial plan. Each of the savings proposals put forward have been suggested by the relevant chief officers, and they are deliverable in their opinion. So what you are doing is recommending to Cabinet your level of support. If you wish to say that you don't support that, then we can note that, but we need to have a collective view to put forward to the Cabinet.
So then I'd be better off voting against the recommendations.
Yes. Okay, right, so we can have a vote. So everyone happy to support all the proposals in Appendix 1? Can you show your hands, please? Anyone for?
Chair, just before we take the vote, can I rephrase that statement? I don't think happy is the term that we should be using. I think it's with some concern that we support it.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really want to make the cuts, but unfortunately we are where we are and we have to vote. So everyone for making supporting all proposals in Appendix 1? Mary, can you use your mic, please?
A lot of the proposals say we need further information, etc., etc. So, you know, in many ways, we can't necessarily commit ourselves until we know what those further proposals or amendments are. For example, the bottom one on page 8. One proposal put forward, proposal E14, more information and explanation needed, etc. So, I mean, I think, yeah, well, no.
Mary, is that in Appendix 1?
No, I was looking at what was on the agenda item. The point I'm trying to make is that where we need to reserve judgment until we have a look at some suggested proposals, how do we actually note that our decision is not for or against at that point?
Appendix 1 is every savings proposal that was fully supported with no caveats, no additional information requested at the workshops. Where there was a request for further information, that's captured in Appendix 4. So we're not asking you to approve all the appendices currently. It's just Appendix 1, the ones that were fully supported at the workshops. No additional information requested.
I did send my apologies for the second workshop, by the way. I was at a meeting in London, but it's not noted.
We'll make a note of that.
I think Councillor Mills as well had given his apologies and they weren't noted either. Okay, well, Councillor Evans.
Could I just say that I was unable to attend the second workshop as well because I was attending Councillor Brian Whitcomb's funeral.
Right, okay, we're back to it. So, can I have a show of hands, everyone who's going to support all the proposals which were supported on Appendix 1? Everyone for? That's 10 for. Anyone against? Councillor Rees. Okay, thank you. Right, we're going on to Appendix 2 now. There's a lot that are not supportive, yeah? So can we say that we are supportive on, a lot of it is on 15, 16, we can support it, but not on later years. So I'll bring Lynn in again.
So members, if I can just take you to page 37 of the report, Appendix 2. These are the proposals that were not supported at the scrutiny workshops by any of the scrutiny members there. So as you can see, they start on page 38, and we've got C21, C25, C26, C29 and C30, which are all relating to children and family services. And then if I just take you over the page to page 42, you have CEO 12 and CEO 13, which are both in the Chief Executive Service area. They were not supported by any table either. So what we're asking you to do is just say today whether you are in support of putting that forward to Cabinet, to say that those savings proposals set out in that appendix you are not supporting as part of the budget discussions.
Councillor Karen?
Yeah, it's just that, having had a quick look at this, I cannot see any proposals that actually impinge on 15-16, which is the next budget. They are all for the year after and the year after that. So, I suppose what I'm saying is, this will not affect next year's budget. That is a correct assumption.
The ones in Chief Executives are for the next year, 16-17.
Which are closure of all cash offices and cease printing of all agenda papers. Councillor Ashley?
Does that mean that if next year constraints come back that we revisit them? Or is this actually means if we look at them now that they are this is it written?
You're given a view to Cabinet. Cabinet will take those views on, hopefully will take those views on board. And what you're saying at the current point in time, you are not able to support those proposals for the years. Each year, you will revisit the savings proposals as part of the medium-term financial planning and budget preparation. But currently, you are saying that scrutiny at this point in time do not support those savings proposals in those areas.
I'm comfortable with that. It's just that obviously we do the same exercise next year, so then we're not tying ourselves in.
What you do need to be aware of is obviously if those savings proposals are needed, then the service areas will have to come up with alternatives. Now, in the report, it states that each service area has been requested to find a certain percentage, and that certain percentage may not be needed if certain corporate savings proposals are delivered, and they're all listed in the report. So it may be that some of these won't be required, but if they are required and you don't support them and Cabinet endorse your recommendation, then the service area would have to find savings or bring others from later years into this year.
I mean, to be frank, I was comfortable with the ones that we did last week, and I, for various reasons, didn't take part on the later ones because we, as a Resources Committee, we were not there, so I need that noted if possible.
Councillor Karen? Oh, okay. Councillor Davis?
Yes, Chair. Just to tell the committee that the table which didn't support them was the table that I was on, which was the healthier scrutiny table. Which was myself, Councillor Taylor, and Councillor Powell. And the thing was, as I said, it was 2018-19, and I think it is put out well. The reasons why, but particularly for the first two, 25 and 20 and 26, I mean, we were pretty strong in reason. And the thing was that 29 and 30, as I said, it sounds very bland. Delete 2 SW posts, delete 2 managers across the division, but that is, we are talking social worker posts. And the thing is that we are talking social worker workloads, which are right at the top at the moment, and the thing is that but as I said, because of the nature of its of the budget having to do is that is because it's such a as with nearly all departments, the main thing of their department is people, and those people in particular in the department that we're talking about.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Councillor Davis. Well, can we say then that we're supported on 2015-16, but cannot support in later years? Yeah? No?
Because the thing is, that, as I said, the 2018-19 ones, we made it clear, which was made clear to the things that we stated on our table. I mean, particularly of the 2 mitigations that you can see on when we're talking about 25 and 26 about about changing the youth offending service to some form of regional service, particularly as 2018-19 we could be in the beginnings of reorganisation. And basically we wanted to know more about Tafarn Newydd, the work it did. And in fact, that's something that we've actually considered maybe that's a future scrutiny for our committee.
Chair, I think the wording you originally said was correct, if you like, and at the end of the day, yes, it did evoke further. Continue mic off. Continue mic off. Thank you. But it did evoke further discussion. But if you like, there is a recommendation, and basically, I think you need to go back to what you originally said.
Sorry. Right. Councillor Ashley.
I think this process is pretty good, actually, in a lot of respects. Certainly, where it's respect of this year's budget process. But when you get into the future, it gets a little bit more of a steer rather than an actuality. And I think it's indicative rather than actual. So I think Nigel's right to be a bit hesitant about it, and I think I got that feel about it. But as a way of looking at things, members, I think, the members that were present put a lot into it, and I think as a process, I think it's better than what we've done in the past in a lot of senses, and I think the staff ought to be complimented on the way they've approached it. I say that because I think it's a much better process. It gives a lot more detail, but I would be a little bit hesitant, bearing in mind that the last couple of years I was sat in your seat there, and it's a much more detailed, look at the thing, and I applaud you for that, because I was racking my brain to think how the hell you do that. But in a sense, you've involved a lot more people and got a lot more detail, but I'm still hesitant to go into the future too much. But obviously you've got to give the executive members some indication of where we go. So more for this year, I think brilliant. We go in there, but maybe in the future it's a steer rather than an actuality. I want to put a bit of a health warning in it. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, it's for members to formulate their recommendations, but obviously it is important that we start planning for the future, and that we know the direction of travel, which is what the medium-term financial plan is all about. It's not just setting the budget; it's also making sure that we know where our areas of investment, our areas of disinvestment, that sort of thing, and our priority areas, so that we can start planning more into the future. So it is. You will revisit it. You will have the opportunity in future years to keep it. It's constantly under review, but it is important that you start considering more than 1 year budget planning, and that you start looking at the longer term.
Councillor Karen.
Yeah, just to make it clear, these are ones that we are not supporting. I think that's the important fact here.
Okay, right. Can we have a vote on it then? Can we show of hands everyone who's not supportive? Yeah? Thank you, that's unanimous, members, okay? We're moving on to Appendix 3. These are alternatives. And can we quickly go through them to see if we're happy to put them forward as alternative budget proposals?
Page 45, members, Appendix 3. As part of the workshops, you were asked not necessarily to replace budget savings proposals with other proposals, but it was just to give you the opportunity, if you felt there were areas that were not highlighted by chief officers, for you to put forward. So generally, they're more about working more in collaboration and partnership, and making sure that we don't lose sight of any new legislation that's come in the future, that we're equipped to deliver on that legislation. And generally, that's what they're all about. So what we're asking you to do is whether you'd like to put those forward as suggestions for exploration by the executive as part of next year's budget and the medium-term financial plan.
So we're all happy with Appendix 3? Yeah? Everyone? Hands? Okay. So right, can I have a show of hands for then? 5, 6, 7, 8, Oh, that's 10 for. Anyone against? Councillor Rees. Okay, thank you. Noted. Right, okay, we're going to go forward to Appendix 4. And we want to look at, see if there's anything in Appendix 4 that we can or cannot support. A lot of it clearly shows that there's been supported by 2 tables to 1. Table not supporting. There's a lot which were not supportive, so I want to know if we can put the ones that are not supported in an overarching block to take forward to say that we're not supportive of that. So should we do that first? Should we go through them bit by bit? Councillor Barnett.
Point of information, because I wasn't here for that discussion. Under E11, further reduce the contribution to the music and outdoor education service or seek alternatives. You've got there, everywhere else, you've got, you know, 1 table in support of the cuts. You've got 2 tables in support of outdoor education. Does that mean that you are opposed or that you are in support of the cuts to outdoor education?
I think there was 2 tables in support of outdoor education, but not
or the cuts or no cuts?
The cuts, but not in the music.
Yeah, but shouldn't it say that? Because actually, the way it's phrased there, it looks as though you're supporting outdoor education and not all supporting music, but it seems to be the other way around.
That column is you're supportive of the cuts. That was the criteria used in the workshop.
Which you said sort of everywhere else, but perhaps we ought to make it clear, because a member of the public seeing that would think that we're in support of outdoor education and not in the same way towards music education.
Sorry, it does relate to the savings proposal, which says further reduce.
Yeah.
But we can
I
clarify
think we need
that.
to put in that word, because it's going to confuse members of the public when we go public.
So members, Appendix 4 is where within the workshops there wasn't consensus, or you wrote caveats around the proposed savings proposal. So what we've tried to do is collate this as easily as we can. Some savings proposals were looked at 5 tables, some were only looked at 2 tables. So don't worry about the numbers of tables. It was just the collective view of over the two workshops. As you can see, in later years, on most pages, most members felt that the savings proposals were not sufficiently well explained to understand the impact on service delivery. So if you just take the first page on page 49, you can see the bottom 3 savings proposals. All the tables that looked at that were not supportive of the explanations, and even after having conversations with the chief officers, you still felt there was some ambiguity there. So what we are suggesting is that there's a number of savings proposals in this Appendix 4 that has that criteria, and we're asking you to say that if they are in that end column, the majority, that you say to the executive that you feel that they need to be further explored, that you can't support or not support them at this current time, they need further explanation before they're taken forward. So if I could just run you through those, if you could just bear with me. That's E12, E13 and E14. And then over the page onto page 53, in years 17, 18 and 18, 19, within the housing service area, you've got savings proposals that say service transformation restructure. So you felt they weren't sufficiently well explained, you needed further information. And that's it. So we're saying of those 5, there's 3 on 59 and 49 and 53. So there's 5 savings proposals there that nobody felt that they were sufficiently well explained for you to form a view on. So what we're asking you there is, would you be happy to present those to Cabinet saying that they needed further investigation going forward?
Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Against? Abstain, is it? Okay. Councillor Rees. Councillor Barnett.
Could I ask one question? Sorry about this, but as you know, I wasn't at that particular discussion. It's a contribution to the music and outdoor service. I think, you know...
We're dealing with that now next, Mayor. Yeah,
okay.
We're just voting on the ones that needed additional information, okay? Yeah, right. Going to go forward now, Lynn. Do you want to come in?
What we're trying to do is making this as easy as possible. So the next ones now are ones where there was consensus of support, but there was some caveat. So if you look at E10 on page 49, which is the one Councillor Barnett was referring to, with regards to outdoor education, there was a consensus of support to reduce the contribution to outdoor education service. However, there was concern around cutting the level of contribution to the music support service, and there was a suggestion that perhaps a hardship fund should be established for free school meals pupils. So, I don't know whether you want to discuss that one.
Yeah, could I say something about that? I mean, I think almost everyone in this room would have attended productions or concerts supported by the Gwent Music Service and the Torvine Music Centre, but I don't think perhaps some are sufficiently aware of what they actually contribute, because they deliver 54,000 hours of tuition and have 12,000 pupils and students engaged in that. And the larger end of a cut, without a doubt, would mean within a year possibly the closure of Gwent Music Service. Even a hefty cut would have repercussions. So there's no way that obviously just having a hardship fund could stop the closure of the service if we went for a 100% cut.
Councillor Ashley.
This is suffering from the same problem that we got with some others, where you've got it all lumped. You've got the three areas, they're all lumped into one there. Is there any possibility of getting that separated out? Because I can incline to agree with what Mary is saying there, but I don't know which of those budgets is applicable to which. It is up to 179 for all three areas, and I don't know what they are. I didn't examine this, but I saw this there, and Mary's just confirmed what I'm worried about. Is it 179 for Gwent Music, or is it outdoor, or what, you know?
279. Stuart. 279. Okay.
That's obviously something that should have been explored within the workshops.
No, I'm sorry. So it's not broken down, and that's an obvious referral back if it hasn't been asked.
If you feel that you can't make a judgment on that because you haven't got the sufficient information, then you need to add it to the not sufficiently well explained. Other members did discuss that with the relevant chief officer and may have a view on it, but you need to make a decision today if it's going to be considered by Cabinet tomorrow.
What I'm trying to say there is that I would agree with what Mary says about it, because the Gwent Music Service is so many county thing, and once you take out one bit of it, the thing collapses.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Councillor Kemp?
Yeah, it's basically exactly the same as what Councillor Ashley was alluded to. It's just that the music is in the same pot as outdoor education, and at the end of the day, I think it needs to be split and further investigation in regarding the budgets.
So should we add that to the other block of not well explained? Yeah, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The thing that the members maybe, because I decided to bring along the paper from the two from the workshops, is the thing to remember is that already we agreed very reluctantly to reduce the contribution to music and outdoor education by 10%. That would be one which I'm assuming was a unanimous one. That would have been E4, which I don't think is mentioned in I think was just in the other ones we've already got. The thing about the one we're talking about, E10, which was the further reduction up to 279,000, basically the whole lot. And the thing to remember is that we have already made a 10% reduction. And then point in, because the thing was, it was the table that I was on which said no way.
Okay, well, let's move that one in with the
And
last block
yes,
as
about the
well.
hardship fund.
Okay.
Yeah, the more info fund. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lynn?
Just listening to that debate, scrutiny members may want to make a recommendation back to chief officers at the end of this meeting to say that future savings proposals need to be broken down with a full explanation so that you can understand the implications far easily. So you might want to think about making that recommendation later. Sorry, I did miss the first one off. I went straight to the one that was highlighted by Councillor Barnett. If I can just take you back to E6, which is catering and cleaning efficiencies. Not all the tables were in support of that, and there was concern about the price increases around school meals.
Does anybody want to make a comment on that one? No? So we've got one table in support and one table not in support. So,
sorry, Chair,
Councillor Kemp?
Again, if you're looking at the catering and cleaning, they're two different things, aren't they, again, if you like, and if you're looking at the meals, if you like, as opposed to cleaning and the meals going up, and that could basically impinge on the residents' pockets as such. Personally, I would like to see a bit more information regarding the catering side and the cleaning side, as Lynn alluded to not so long ago, again, regarding the future recommendations.
Councillor Ashley.
Somebody's making a point here. Isn't this decision something to do with school, under LMS, to do with school governing bodies?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. But again,
I'm looking at this and thinking there's a large element of the choice of school governing bodies over this one, which I sit on too, and a lot of members do. I'm looking at it and thinking, I'm sorry, I didn't scrutinise this, but it seems an obvious one here. It's something we can talk to school governing bodies about, and should have been.
I mean, catering and cleaning is grouped together because it is one team within the council. I can't answer the questions about LMS. All I can say is obviously this was a new process through the budget workshops, and perhaps we just need to be careful about how we question chief officers going forward, so that we actually understand the implications, because these are quite significant sums of money for the next financial year, and obviously if you're not supporting them, then chief officers are going to have to look for other alternative savings measures, or the cabinet may choose to take them ahead anyway. So we need to be careful that in future we get the information we need in scrutiny to make an informed judgment.
Councillor Karen.
Yeah, just to say, I mean, I read this to mean that our in-house catering and cleaning teams will be reduced. I had, that's what it's got to be. The school governing bodies decide on whether or not to take out catering facilities or not take out catering facilities. That's their choice. Our choice is how we run it.
Shall we look at the service implications of these cuts?
In the original report that went to the workshops, you had obviously a lot more detail which gave what the implication to that service was. So when you're looking at E6, catering and cleaning, the service implication noted was efficiencies in staffing and food provision, breakfast club provision, and appetite for life spend, plus a price increase. Does that make it any easier? So now you know what it is that they're talking about.
Okay. Lynn?
Yeah, we just need to make a judgment now on that particular savings proposal as to whether you are willing to support it going forward, not support it, or request further information.
So should I have a show of hands who's going to support it? 1, 2, 3. Anyone who's not supportive? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
Chair, can we request further information on that topic?
I think what your recommendation today is to ask the Cabinet to request further information, because obviously you've had the opportunity to scrutinise it. So before the Cabinet take it forward, you would like them to explore that in more detail to understand the implications.
Could I also Could I also say that on the basis of school breakfast clubs, because it's about a healthy living and issues around poverty as well, that is a rather important thing. You know, we've got to look at that one on that basis.
I'm sure the Cabinet know, if we know that it's going to Cabinet, then. Okay, we're going to move on now to... Are we going through them now? A8? Lynn, A8?
Yep, the next one, A8, which is around night service from extra care facilities. One table was in support, one table was not in support, and their reasons given was preservation of dignity, potential cause of mental health issues, and associated increased costs in other parts of the system. So what they were saying is if we remove those facilities, there could be an impact on other services within the council.
Okay, again, we've got one support, one not in support. So, can I have a show of hands who's going to support this? None? 1? 2? Everyone not supportive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, thank you. Going to move on now to A27.
So A27 is remove the night service from extra care facilities. Again, one table in support, one table not, and they were the same reasons as given above as I just read out.
Okay, who's supportive? 1, 2. Who's not supportive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's not supportive.
Make a point, Chair. I mean, members are aware now, right, that this money is going to have to come out of social services somewhere else. You are aware what you're doing. As long as you're aware of what you're doing, you do what you like. But you need to be aware that...
No. It's up to the executive member for resources to put his budget together, and he can make choices around where he wants to make cuts. We're not deciding, and we're not saying you shouldn't, what way you should get. We're just saying you shouldn't get that.
Yes, but you need to be aware he will come back with a different cut somewhere else in social services.
Then we'll have to look at that then, won't we?
I would also argue that what we're doing is referring back to Cabinet to examine that.
I agree, but members need to be aware as well that the cuts have to be made, and they're going to be made from somewhere. None of us like to make any of these cuts. But
Chair. On that point, Chair, I think we were all aware of that situation at the workshops.
And having the opportunity as well to speak to the Chief Officer, who came and answered any questions that the tables were asking during scrutiny. And I've got to be honest, this was a very useful, and you know, it's made us more informed of making the decisions. So we just need to be aware. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I think what I want to share with regard to this is that this is a budget investigation that we are going into, and we are not fully aware of what all of the outcomes are as yet. What you're saying here is that it could well be return to this. So you're saying to people, these are the types of things that we want you to return to and to look at. At the end of the day, there are 10 members here on scrutiny today. There should be 30 here. The same happened with with exactly the same on when all of this was being investigated, and it's very likely that those people who did that investigation are here today as well. In fact, I'd almost put my blooming pension on it. So at the end of the day, you have to have a mechanism where you can say you're just simply not comfortable with this. And I think that's where I sit in this. There are things here I'm just simply not comfortable with at all. Now, at the end of the day, I've been in this business for an awful long time on both sides of the table, and I understand exactly what the outcomes of it is. There is a bucket of money. There's only so much in it, and then you've got to decide how you're going to distribute it. And that's
exactly
what we are best trying to do.
And we have to remember, during the scrutiny workshop, there were a lot of questions which all tables had, and it gave the opportunity to speak to the chief officers for them to come back and decide, or inform us better of what the implications are going to be, and if they thought it was, you know, workable or not workable. So, Councillor Kemp.
Yes, I've taken on board what you've said there, and I agree. However, if you like, I'm noting that because this is scrutiny, there's potentially 4 voting members who didn't take part in the workshops and were allowed to ask officers, if you like, questions, and yet today they have voting rights, and basically they might not necessarily have all the facts, if you like. So I'm just voicing my concern over that, if you like, that I know that Lorna, if you like, is voting, but if you like, she might not necessarily know all the facts as we were given as part of the budget at the end of it.
Councillor Ashley.
With regard to the specialist care issues as well, there is actually fairly quick policy happening nationally on this as well, so I suspect by the time this happens that there'll be other stuff on a national basis. I did make that observation because the last week there's certainly been developments, as it were, and I think that's why I feel comfortable to some extent to ask for further information, because I think at a Welsh Government level and at national level there's things happening there.
I agree with you, but I am also, the Chief Officer would have been well informed of those as well, and any, the Wellbeing Act, I think all that was discussed during the scrutiny workshop when we had the opportunity. Councillor Barnett, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to respond to, a very sort of rational statement that Councillor Kemp just made. If we are going to bar people in this seminar voting if they didn't attend one or both of the seminars, we're not going to be left with many people, because don't forget the second seminar was very much an ad hoc decision. I was already committed to speaking at a meeting in London, so I couldn't attend much as I would have wanted to, and I know other people in this room couldn't attend because they also had meetings that at a few days' notice could not be changed.
Okay, thank you. Right, what are we on now? Sorry, I'm losing track now. A33, yeah? Delay hospital transfers of care to residential and nursing homes. Again, there's one table in support, one table not in support. Can I have a show of hands? Support? Who's supportive of this? 1, 2, me 3, okay. Who's not supported? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. Okay, the next one, A34, reduce service response to maximum of 3 calls per day. Again, there's one table in support, one table not in support. Hands, show of hands, please. Who supports? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry. Who's not supportive? 1, 2, 3. Okay. 2018-19, are we doing? Yeah, every year. A43, change use of training flat Kynant to long-term tenancy. Again, one table in support, one table not in support, with concerns about percentage of occupancy prior to making cut. Show of hands, who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who's not in support? 1, 2. Okay. 3, sorry. Next one, C9, remove the out-of-hours support service to foster carers family placement team. Again, one table in support, one table not in support. Show of hands, who's in support? 1, 2, 3. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, thank you. C11, delete social worker post following review of caseloads. Again, one in support, one not in support, with concerns about caseloads. Show of hands, support please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. C13, sorry, the numbers are on the bottom. Independent Family Support Service regional arrangement to be brought back in-house. Former grant now in RSG. Intention is to withdraw from current arrangements. One table in support, one not in support. Show of hands, support, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Madam Chair, before we judge, just to say that I was on the table not in support, and we made a request for more advice on this, particularly more legal advice on about the legal framework on this.
I'm sure the Chief Officer will consider this, and it also says as well the new Act may not allow it.
Indeed, that was
So,
the thing.
okay.
That was the thing which was
Right.
response.
Can I show of hands again, please? Sorry. Support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not 8. Not in support. 1, 2. Okay, thank you. C14. Reduced respite to children with disability and looked after children. 1 in support. 1 not in support. Can I have show of hands for support, please? 1, 2, 3. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, thank you, members. Going on to where? NBH4, which is on page 54. 1, 3. Better do. Yeah, we'll do. NBH3. Reduce maintenance budget for street lighting by either switching to part night lit or reducing maintenance budget. There's one table in support of both options, one table in support of part night lit, and one table not in support of either option. So, can I have a show of hands who's in support of both options? 1, 2, 3. Can I have a show of hands? Oh, do you have a? You want to?
We're voting for.
Right. Okay. Can we have a? Right. Should we have a show of hands? Who? Yeah. Let's listen to the implications, shall we?
Okay. So MBH3 is reduce the maintenance budget for street lighting by either switching to part night lit or reducing the maintenance budget. So that's your two options. I'll read the service implication for you. Prioritisation of repairs will result in less repairs being done and a longer waiting time to respond to repairs and an increase in complaints. However, budget reduction will be minimised where possible by reduced energy use following SALEX investment and new technology for timers and dimmers.
Option 1. So can I have a show of hands for support of option 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Not in support of option 1? 1, 2. A support of one table is a support of part night lit option only. Can I have a show of hands for?
I didn't realise how many options there were, if you like, because...
Okay, right, we've got an option.
Yeah.
The option one will be switching to part night lit and reducing the maintenance budget, okay? Option 2 would be by switching to part lit or reducing the maintenance budget, okay? So should we go for 1 or 2? 1 of both, who's in support of both, by switching to part night lit and reducing the maintenance budget? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah? Okay. 6. Any more? Okay. Not in support of option 1. 1, 2. Okay? That's 8. Somebody's missing. 9. Should we go through it again? Right. Use your microphone as well, please, when you...
sorry, I thought there was going to be more options because one table was in support of both, one table was support in part to night lit option only, and one table not in support of either. And so there should be 3 options there to begin with.
Yeah. Okay, let's vote on who's in favour of part night lit only. switching the lights to part night lit. 1, 2, 2. And then who's not in support of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
Can I just clarify the position there with part lighting? And that's when the lights are turned off at 12 o'clock, or perhaps a little bit later, just to clarify that position.
Right. Who's in support of reducing the maintenance budget?
Chair, the thing is, I thought we were talking about the total package, which were prioritisation of repairs, which includes the budget reduction, which of reduce of the maintenance, but includes the reduced energy use from investment in the Salix technology.
Okay, then we'll vote on both then. Yeah. In fact, to get this clear, because we're getting very confused. Right, we voted on the switching to part lit. We're now going to be voting to switch into part night lit and reducing. Yeah. Okay, and we've done it once, but we'll do it again, right? Yeah. So everyone in favour of that? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not supportive. 9, 10. Okay, right. Thank you. 2. Let's move to MB4 now. Trade waste, increased fees and charges. There was 2 tables in support and 1 table didn't have enough information. So can I have a show of hands who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not in support? And 1 abstention. Okay. MB5, cemeteries, increased charges by A, 8%. Which is 20,000 in total, or B, up to 20%, 50,000 in total. There was 2 tables in support of option A, the 8% rise, and 1 table in support of the 20% rise. So can I have a show of hands for A, the 8% rise, which is 20,000 in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and not in support then? 1. Somebody missing? Yeah, 2. Okay. And B, the 20% in support of that? 1. And not in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you.
Could I say, Chair, that having not, the only reason I was not in support of 8 was because I thought 20 was best, so I'm now in support of 8, obviously.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Cart. Yeah, okay. MB, I can't see the number on that one, sorry. Cemeteries increased charges by an additional 30% in addition to the up to 20% increase proposed in MBH5 to achieve a cost recovery position, that is, no council subsidy for providing the service. There's 1 in support and 2 not in support.
For further information on that, does that mean that we are not supporting what used to be known as paupers' burials? Because there are a number of people who die so insolvent that the council bears some, if not all, of the cost.
Could I come back there? I don't believe that the council do paupers' burials anymore. I'm under the impression that they are paid for by the Department of Works and Pensions, where you can make an application for grant to bury.
I think this is mainly about the council subsidy, but I think I'm in that way of thinking, Councillor Karen. Okay.
Can I just clarify that members actually requested additional information from Duncan, and he did circulate that to you last week, showing our costs, how our costs compare with other local authorities. And if you recall, our costs are slightly less than most in those areas.
Okay, and the concerns were over the increase, but Duncan, I think, gave information. So can I have a show of hands who's in support? We're doing 14, the increased charges by an additional 30% in addition to the 20% increase proposed in MBH 5. So can I have a show of hands who's in support? 1, 2, not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, thank you. MB16, Arts and Culture Service, cultural grants and other grants, review the service and prioritise service delivery and resources. There was one table in support, which would prefer a lesser cut and support for grant recipients to identify external funding, and there's one table not in support, who said consultation needed prior to implementation, and there was one table who didn't think it was sufficiently well explained. Right, we can have a show of hands who's in support then.
Which will be in support of those two statements?
Review the service and prioritise service delivery and resources. So can I have a show of hands who's in support? It might be, yeah, it's £112,000.
Can I ask again, are we voting on review the service, not cutting it?
Both. 112,000.
Why not? Sorry. So are we voting on that first of all, and then voting on review the service second?
It's one savings proposal. So the savings proposal is review the service and prioritise service delivery and resources, a savings cut of an estimated value of 112,000.
Can I put a third option, Chair, if you like, but the fact that it also goes into the third column, as in impact not fully explained, if like, I think possibly this is another one that needs to be go to the executive for further information.
And maybe even to the scrutiny committee who would look into this subject.
Yeah.
Well, the Arts and Culture Service. Looking at the Arts and Culture Service itself.
All of the additional information you requested from Duncan was circulated via email last week. I'm just trying to bring it up for you now. If you do, you can request to put it onto your scrutiny work programmes if you so wish, but you still need to make a recommendation around the savings proposal.
So we're either supportive or we're not supportive. Or, yeah, okay, can I show of hands who have supported? 1, 2, 3, not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Thank you. NB17, waste. Introducing a charge for collecting green waste. The options range from charging £20 a year per household to £80 a year per household. Each £20 charged is estimated at an annual income of £200,000. So £20 a year could raise approximately £200,000 per annum. A charge of £80 per annum could raise £800,000 per annum. There's two tables in support. Who would prefer implementation in a later year due to recent introduction of skinny bins, and one table not in support. So it was counteracted to statutory recycling targets. So can we have a vote, show of hands, on who is supportive of charging £20 a year per household?
I think we need to debate on this before, and maybe to formulate a position from the committee, I think.
I agree with you, but this was debated as well at scrutiny. You know, you had the information, you asked the scrutiny officers, that was your time. This is really to just make the recommendations to go to Cabinet. So we're either going to vote for or against. Okay, so who is supportive? Oh, Councillor Evans.
Could I just come in and say that I wanted the clarity again with regard to the collection, is that currently the collection of the green bin stops at the end of November, as we all know. So is this service going to be provided throughout the whole year?
Well, I think they most, I'm not sure, I don't know whether that question was asked, but, you know, there's not a lot of green waste throughout the winter months, so I really don't know. Well, there's not, you don't cut the grass in December, really, do you? Or, you know, I mean, there is a decrease in it. I'm not getting into the argument now. I mean, this is, we need to just vote on, are we going to support charging £20 a year per household for the collection of the green waste?
The Chair. That's the...
Well, there's from charging £20 to £80. So I'm saying, should we vote on £20 and then vote on £80?
Chair?
Or 20, yeah? Councillor Kemp.
Yeah, thank you. Again, where does the wording would prefer implementation in a later year due to recent introduction of skinny bins, and so where does that option come into?
I think there was one table or two tables came up with they would support it at a later year, not this year.
Just come in there briefly, Chair.
Sorry, could you? So where does it come in? Is it going to come into one of the options here, or again, what are the options in which we are going to be voting on?
I suppose we could make that a recommendation and bring Lynn in on that.
Yeah, any of the savings proposals, if you've some of the tables have put caveats around it to say that you want to support it in a later year or a lesser percentage, you just make it supported, but with that caveat.
Could I just come in and explain, because I was sat on the table that discussed this at quite some length, excuse me, and the rationale behind this proposal to implement it later in the year was the effect of the skinny bin rollout was huge, and it was thought it would be better to implement it later.
Agree with you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Ashley, Mike.
I just want to make a point on this, because the point about having the green waste bin was to encourage people to put into a scheme that was supposed to come back. We never ever implemented it, which I'm personally very irritated by, because as well known, I'm allotment to Anna Gardner, and the point about the whole scheme was there's supposed to be a flow out into composting and then back in again. And if we're going to have this charge on it, it should be to implement a green waste scheme that comes back as compost into this borough. We don't get that. If we're going to have a charge on it, then I think there ought to be a caveat on here that is used to transport our green waste back into the borough. Otherwise, there's no point having it there. It's not to offset the budget, it's actually to implement a green waste scheme that works properly.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ashley. Right, so we're going to vote on who is supportive of charging £20 a year per household to £80 a year.
Well,
and is there a caveat attached to it?
I would like the principle about what I've just said about the system of having that green waste back in the borough. Otherwise, there's no point of doing this. If we just send it off to Somerset, where it's going now, and it's not coming back here, what's the point of doing the green waste scheme? I want that in there, please.
Chair, in regarding what Councillor Ashley has said there, if you like, that should have been brought up, if you like. But that should have been brought up as part of the workshop. And as a result of those findings, they would have been on this piece of paper here. All I'm working on is basically what's on this piece of paper. And so I appreciate what you're saying, but if you like, there hasn't been a discussion as part of the workshops on it, if you like. And so unfortunately, even though your suggestion seems to be a good one, it doesn't form part of the decision which we're going to be making now. What we need to discuss is whether there's going to be a caveat in regarding would prefer implementation in a later year due to the recent introduction of skinny bins. And that's what's got to be decided upon, and nothing else.
Look, all I'm asking is you to put a note on there, because this has been frustrating me on that particular committee for a long time, and I have brought it up several times. I'm on record for bringing it up, and I'm on record with Neighbourhood Services, and they said they would conduct, when we got the new transfer station, an experiment to actually bring that back in. Now, I think as we've got the opportunity, I'm quite happy to vote in favour of having a charge if it will bring back green waste into the borough. And the only thing stopping us having it is transport costs, which that would help.
Right, okay, thank you, Councillor Ashley. Lynn, we'll bring you in.
Councillor Ashley, you can note your comments, but obviously it doesn't impact on this savings measure because this is about introducing a charge. So it's income generation to offset the budget pressures. What I think you'd be better off doing is requesting the chair of the Cleaner Communities Overview and Scrutiny to look at that, the implementation in more detail rather than a caveat around the budget proposal. So if members are in support of the cost in 16-17, then you vote with that. If you think you are supported but not in this year, a later year, you just need to put that caveat to Cabinet.
Okay. Councillor Evans?
Can I... Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to be clear what options we're going to be voting on here. Are we going to be voting on the £20 a year and the £80 a year?
I suppose it's just a level of charge, but we can again put a recommendation in. Yeah, if you... Councillor Barnett.
To make the same point, because with that increase 20 to 80, some of us might be minded to say, well, 20 is bearable for some of the poorer families, 80 certainly wouldn't be.
Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, everybody talks about it, you get even more confused every time somebody says something. At the present moment, there will be an increase in collecting waste next year by virtue of what tax we ask people to pay. My understanding of this, that this would be, let's just stick with one figure for the moment, £20 over and above the increase that will be made anyway, annually. Yeah. Have I understood all that correct, or was it a waste of time me turning up for the 2 days I did?
It's my understanding we don't charge currently, so this would be a new charge for the people wishing to receive it.
This is the point that I'm making. At the present moment, it's picked up as part of waste collection. So they're already paying to have that done. What we are talking about doing is removing that service in its entirety, and it becomes a paid for collection at a rate at the present moment of £20, which would increase our income by 200,000, and the other example is if it was charged at £80 a year, it would be bringing in an extra £800,000 a year. That's what it says on there.
Councillor Brooks, can we just go through the service implication that was presented to you at the budget workshop? It may just clarify that.
Yeah, you can do whatever you like, but whether I vote for it or not will depend on that. As far as I'm concerned, what I have just said is what it boils down to. We know that there's going to be an increase in collecting waste next year, whatever that is. What I'm saying is, this proposal is that if we decide to collect green waste next year, that there should be a charge of £20 per annum, and that £20 is estimated to raise £200,000 a year extra revenue. Now, that's what we're talking about. Now, if we are saying that, my own personal view is that people won't use it anyway, and they'll chuck it all in the skinny bin. That's my opinion, but I can support charging people £20 a year and happily come back and say, I told you so, at the end of the day. But that's what it says on here.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were asking to support whether they introduce the charge. So they will be carrying on collecting the green waste, but it's whether we support an introduction of a charge for waste.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Councillor Karen.
Chair, can I make a suggestion? Let's start to get a bit of sense around this. Can we first have a vote on whether or not we agree to have it in 16-17? Then we take another vote to say we delay it by a year, and then we take a vote on 20, 40, 60 and 80. Yeah?
Right, okay.
Will, if there is a charge on this, does that actually mean, which is what worries me, that people can opt out of this if they don't want to afford it? Opt-out clause.
I really do. I can't tell you, but that wasn't asked obviously at the scrutiny. You know, if you don't, yeah, exactly. Maybe if you don't want it, you don't want it.
That then does have implications, because at the moment the green bin is available for everyone.
So that would have a view on how you voted then. So you would vote not to support it. So we're going to go. Do we support it? This introduction in 2016-17. Show of hands, please. 1, 2. Right. Not supported. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, thank you. Right, now let's vote on, shall we charge £20 per year? Oh,
No, I think you need to vote
oh
on
sorry,
89.
having it in 17. In a later year, we won't specify what year, in a later year. Support it, please. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Not supported. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the charges, yeah? Right, okay. We vote on £20 a year. Who's supportive of £20 a year if there is an introduction of a charge? 1, 2, 3. Not supportive of 20. 1, 2. And all the rest abstain, yeah? Abstain? Pardon? Yeah. £80 a year. Supportive of £80 a year? Nobody. 1. And not supportive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, thank you. Right, let's move on to NBH 20, winter maintenance, revisit within Schedule H guidance, 12 months consultation period on guidance, reduced service, plant salt. 2 tables in support, 1 table not in support, as they're not able to predict future winters. Can I have a show of hands who's in support of revisiting the guidance period on reduced service? 1, 2, 3, 4. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abstaining? Okay, yeah, 1. Okay, NBH 22, street scene, reduced specification frequency, 2 tables in support, 1 table not in support because of the numbers of complaints received by members. Who's in support? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. NBH 24, libraries, review of service or availability of service opening hours, 2 tables in support, and need to try and generate more income from organisation using our premises, 1 table not in support, with a concern of impact on unemployment, children welfare reform, etc., and changes to service have already been implemented. Can I have a show of hands who's in support?
Madam Chair, just to say that if we are in support, we're also voting about trying to get more income into the library service by more income use of libraries, as on the caveats.
Yeah.
Which I would be in favour of doing.
In the workshop, we've got 2 tables are in support and 1 not in support. So, I mean, consensus in the workshop were, so we need to vote either way.
But I said with that, but particularly with that caveat, because that I think is very important. Yes,
It is in there, isn't it?
I just need to make sure that it is specified that
Okay.
that is there.
Who's in support? Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not in support. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Okay, MBH 28, street light maintenance reduction, maintenance and energy. This is in 2018-19. Is 1 table in support, 2 tables not in support, with safety issues and extra resources to deal with complaints. Can I have support? Show of hands. Who's in support? 1, 2. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, thank you. Right, so PPP 5, stop providing a pest control service. 4 tables in support, 2 tables didn't support full amount, they wish to retain the dog warden. So can I have a show of hands who supported, please? 1, 2, 3.
Chair, what's the options again? I'm sorry, because obviously...
The options were stop providing a pest control service. 2 said they didn't support fully the amount. They wanted to retain the dog warden.
And so that's going to be option B, is it?
That would be a caveat, yeah.
If I can just come in, obviously there was support across, so it was fully supported that there should be a cut in the pest control service, but 2 tables said they didn't want to see the full cut of the £70,000, they would want to retain the dog warden. So what you need to vote on is whether you wish to support that caveat. You've already supported the proposal, it's just whether you want to support a slightly reduced amount by retaining the dog warden. That's the option today.
And that is what needs to be stated in regarding the option, though.
Okay, so we stop providing a pest control service with the caveat that we wish to retain the dog warden. Okay, who's in support of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not in support? 1, 2. Okay, thank you. PPP 7, reduction of staff within planning services, development control, building control, forward plans, LDP. There's 3 tables in support, subject to restructuring of departments with similar responsibilities, and 1 table not in support with concerns of risk of powers being taken away. So can I, bring Lynn in?
Can I just remind you all members, when we get down to 17, 18, 18, 90, where there was a reduction in staff, obviously all members were concerned about the impact on service delivery there and the impact on staff. So there's several proposals in the later years across various service areas that have all got sort of a caveat around them that they are just cautious about the impact on service delivery and the restructuring. So it may be that you just want to support those in general, providing that further information is provided in future years about the impact on service delivery. So that would take those 3, all of them actually on PPP.
So you're all quite happy to support that? Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Against? 1. Okay, thank you. So that's all PPPs, isn't it? Yeah. Lynn?
If I can just, so we're on Public Service Support Unit now, page 57. Again, there was just a little bit of uncertainty around the impact of the reduction of general fees by £3,000 on PS2. The others, in later years, which were regarding the reduction in PCSOs, were fully supported, and most of the tables were saying actually you should bring those proposals forward, that members were more comfortable in taking them in 16-17 rather than the later years. So that's just to provide you with a little bit of context around those comments.
So we're voting whose support then? Can I have a show of hands?
So which one are we supporting first? Which one are we voting on first?
Most of these are interrelated, because your concerns on the age concern grant were saying actually you're concerned about the lack of meetings, but you would prefer to see that not supported in favour of taking the money from PCSOs in later years. So it may be easier if you take each one individually, but that was the general consensus from each of the tables that looked at this service area.
Okay, that's
I think we might have made a bit of a mistake. I said referring to it with PCSOs with the age concern. How do the PCSOs get into age concern?
What they're saying is that you would rather take the money from the PCSO savings in 17, 18, 18, 19 than make the cut in age concern.
Right.
Okay, so let's do it one by one then, shall we? We'll go to PS2, reduction of general fees by 3,000. 3 tables in support, 1 not in support. A show of hands.
Sorry, Chair, would it be easier to take PS8 first, and then you don't have to take the others after? Yeah. Just a thought.
You do that then? So PS8, you said, the reduction in PCSO provision. 5 tables in support, 3 tables supported increased cuts in 16-17, and 1 wanted further discussions with police. So can I have a show of hands? Who's in support? Not in support? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So you want to do PCS 9 now, reduction in establishment. 3 tables in support, 1 table needed to understand the impact on service and durability. Can't find it. Show of hands, who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. So we go back now to PS 2. Reduction of general fees by 3,000. Again, three tables were in support, 1 was not in support, with a concern of potential impact on service. Can I have a show of hands in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not in support? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. PS5. Remove 10,000 under spend from software. 2 tables were in support, 2 tables not in support. Important for data capture, not supported for 16-17, would prefer increased savings through PCSOs. Can I have a show of hands, who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Excuse me, Chair, I'm confused now, because I thought we'd agreed to reduce the PSO provision in 16-17 so that we didn't have to make those 2. I thought that's what we voted on when we voted on the first one, the reduction PCSO numbers, moving that into 16-17 so that we did not have to make these in this year. We might have to make them next year, in 17-18, but is that...
Okay, then we'll have a vote on that one, yeah. Yeah, moving them forward to 17-18, yeah. Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we
So resources on page, what page are we on? 59. There were all the savings measures and resources were supported, but there was a caveat around the reduction in staffing levels, but they were all fully supported. So if we can just move on then to communities. There was some consensus of support in most of the savings proposals, but not the first. So CSU 3, the community farm, you've already put forward an additional savings investigation around investigating the viability of the farm, and then the level of support was split across all 3 columns in that one, so you need to discuss that.
Okay, we'll read in them. If the community farm absorbed pay pressures and reduced subsidy by 22,000 by additional income and or reduced costs. There was 1 table in support, 1 table not in support. They said the proposed cut was not enough and they need to consider as a trust, and savings of 25% could be generated in subsequent cuts in years 2 and 3. And 1 table said it wasn't sufficiently well explained. They need to look at future viability of the farm as a matter of urgency. So, Councillor Ashley.
Do I have to sign a declaration of interest? I'm actually a board member.
No, you're the board member of the
Shadow Board.
Shadow Board.
Yeah.
You're not a trustee or anything. No, that's fine. Okay. No.
If Linda didn't advise you in the workshops, then you don't need to know. Okay, who's in support of absorbing pay pressures and reducing the subsidy by 22,000?
So what will we actually be voting on, yay or nay? Are we voting so are we voting on the thing which is proposed here, yes or no, And the thing is, will we then be voting on the amendment? I assume, which is the not supported, and then and if that amendment falls, then we can vote on the third amendment to look at the future viability.
You're voting on this one, on the savings proposal that's written, okay? So that's why you're saying yes or no. You've already agreed to put an additional stream of work forward to the Cabinet to look at the viability, or the future viability of the farm, when you agreed your Appendix 3 at the start of the meeting. So now you just need to indicate to Cabinet whether you were supportive of that £40,000 in 16-17.
So can I have a show of hands who is supportive of that in 16-17, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any more? Not supported? 1, 2. Okay, thank you, member. Right, so we're moving on now to abstain. Councillor Ashley. Okay, CSU 6, youth service reduction of staff. 2 tables in support, 1 table not in support, for the same reason as CSU 3. Can I ask supported, please? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, thank you. CSU 8, youth service, play service, sports development, reduced service provision equivalent to circa 38% of current costs over a 3-year period. 2 tables in support, 1 table I felt it wasn't sufficiently well explained, wondering what it would look like. Can I have a show of hands, please? Those in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not in support? 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. CSU 9, review levels of grant aid to all organisations to seek alternative funding sources, including potentially increasing major grants. There were 2 tables in support, 1 table not in support for the same reasons. Can I show of hands who supported, please? 1, 2, 3. Not in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, thank you. Again, then we move on to 2017-18. Do we go through all these now, the ones that are not highlighted? Because, yeah. Okay, CSU, I can't see the number. Community Farm 13. Community Farm absorb pay pressures by additional income and or reduced costs. Again, 1 table, this is in 17-18. 1 table in support, 1 table not in support, and 1 table felt it wasn't sufficiently well explained. Can I have a show of hands in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, and abstention 1. Thank you. CSU 14, Toolvine training, absorb pay pressures by additional income and or reduced costs. There was 2 tables in support. So, yeah. Can I show of hands who's in support, please?
Also, Chair, that on these next 4 items, there's 1 table who wanted to look, because the year 17-18, wanted to look at what's happened after 2016-17.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Davis. Yeah, there's 1 table who needs revisiting after 2016-17. Okay, so...
Because it could be a suggestion just been made that maybe we should take all those 4 as one because of the nature of what is being of the nature of the proposal on the fact that it needs revisiting after 16-17, that we can't about whether we should take the report take the stand to say these numbers now rather than.
I agree with you, Councillor Davis, but there's only 1 table. Well, 2 tables were in support, so we'll vote on each one if that's okay with you. Right, okay, so we're on Toolvine training. 2 tables were in support, 1 table wanted to revisit it. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not in support. 1, 2. Okay. CSU 15, reduced level of grant aid to GAN Second Partnership and CoStar, one table in support, one table not in support. Feeling that subsidising the wrong people, need to explore this, consider who you target resources to, and again, one table need revisiting after 16-17. Can I have a show of hands who's in support?
Could we note that Councillor Rees has left the room? I think he was the one that's on CoStar, wasn't he?
Yeah, okay.
Only I think it needs
He's
noting.
Noted, yeah. Thank you, Councillor Karen. Can I, show of hands, support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And me, unanimous, 10. Yeah, thank you. CSU 16, 10% reduction on major grants. There's 2 tables in support, and again, 1 table needed revisiting. Can I have a show of hands, please? Support on reduction.
Could I have information here? Because some of us are trustees or sit on boards of recipients of major grants. So I take it we ought to abstain?
Madam Chair, perhaps it's better that we don't know. Perhaps it's better that we don't know. And that's probably why it's been written like that. I sit on loads of boards as well, and I'm voting for a reduction, for God's sake. Like, you know, hopefully I'll get chucked off the committees. But outside of that, because we don't know who we are dealing with here, perhaps that's a very equitable and a very fair way of doing with it. And then that way nobody can be seen to be supporting a particular parochial organisation. Suggestion, that's all that is.
And there would be a minefield of declarations, possible declarations there as well.
Just to read out the service implication for you, there's nothing specific. It says, will be targeted through a review of outcomes.
So can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Against? Not supportive? 1. Okay, thank you. CSU 17, youth service, play service, sports development, reduced service provision equivalent 38% of current cost of a 3-year period. We agreed that, didn't we, in 2016-17. 2 tables in support, and again, 1 table wanted it to be revisited. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not in support? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. CSU 18, Torvine training, absorb pay pressures by additional income and or reduced costs. Again, I think we supported it earlier. This is in 18, all these are in 18-19. 1 table in support, 1 table not in support, and 1 table wanted it revisited. Can I have a show of hands who's in support? Please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not in support? 1. Thank you. CSU 19, reduced level of grant aid, again, to GAN Second Partnership and CoStar. Sorry, Councillor Rees, 2 minutes, or 1 minute. Again, 1 table was in support, 1 not in support, 1 table needed revisiting. Can I have a show of hands in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you, unanimous. Okay, Councillor Rees can come back in. Thank you. 10% reduction on major grants in CSU 20, 1 table in support, 1 in not in support. Again, 1 needed revisiting. Can I have a show of hands who's in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 9, sorry. Not. Yes. Not in support. 1. CSU 21, budget for surpluses on ad hoc employability contracts, use of reserve. 1 table was in support, 1 table not in support, and 1 table needed revisiting after 16-17 savings have been implemented. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not in support? 1. Thank you. CSU 22, community farm, absorb pay pressures by additional income or reduced costs. 1 table in support, 1 not in support. Again, 1 needed revisiting. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not in support. 2 and 1 abstention. Thank you. CSU 23, youth service, play service, sports development, reduced service provision, equivalent to 38% circa of current costs over a 3-year period. 1 table in support, 1 not in support, and 1 table needed revisiting. Can I have a show of hands? Support, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not in support. 2. Thank you. Okay. Service area chief executives. CEO 7, restructure the provision of democratic member services and mayoral support to include consideration of the removal of the mayoral car chauffeur role and a cessation of support for mayoral fundraising activities. No table supported. 1 table not in support, not enough expertise to support the mayor. 1 table was split. They wanted a split mayoral from democratic function and concerns over the mayor driving themselves.
On a point of information, if I may, Madam Chair, we don't have a mayoral car, we have a civic car, and that civic car is also entitled to be used when on civic business by the chief executive, the leader, senior officers, etc. I mean, whether in fact they take that up at this moment is immaterial. Some do, some don't. But I think it's a misnomer to call it the mayoral car. Even downstairs in the parking bay it says, you know, reserved for the civic car. And I think, you know, the members of the public might think that this is solely about providing a service for one civic head. It's not.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. So it wasn't supported. 1 didn't feel it was sufficiently well explained. So do we not support this, or do we want it to go back for further information? Yeah. Because can I have a show of hands who's not in support? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And who is in support? 1. Okay, thank you. Move on to CEO 10. Reduce the frequency of council, cabinet, regulatory meetings. Stop support for all non-statutory committees, meetings that would normally be outside of the remit of democratic services. Then reduce size of democratic and member services function. 1 table was in support. They wanted to keep statutory meetings as it stands and reduce non-statutory meetings. And 1 table felt it wasn't sufficiently well explained and that seminars were not value for money. So can I have a show of hands who's in support of reducing the frequency of the meetings and then reducing the democratic and member services function? Can I have a show of hands, please? Who's in support? None? Okay. Nobody's in support of that one. CEO, is it 11? Yeah, 11. Remove or reduce members' small schemes allowances. There were 2 tables in support. 1 table is only supporting a 25% cut rather than the full amount. Can I have a show of hands then, please, who's in support of removing the small schemes allowances?
There's a substantive issue here, isn't there? Because the table I sat on, people said we must share the pain, and they were in favour of taking, you know, a small cut, even though there's going to be a big impact on the survival of some community groups if we do that. So I don't see it should be a straight for or against, because we need to bring in that you can be in support of a smaller amount, and that's not stated here.
Councillor Cameron?
Can I say, Chair, I mean, I actually sat on this meeting, and I think it was me that put forward the 25% cut, but I think I did say that we would cut it 25% this year, and we would certainly re-look at it next year with the intention of either a further reduction or removing it altogether. But I felt that it was a bit short notice, really, given the perilous income sources for some of these organisations.
Councillor Ashley?
Yeah, that was the group, obviously that was the resources group that we all sat on, and there were some very good points made there. and the 25% reduction was one of them. The other was that some, maybe Councillor Brooks, I thought, about how that money was spent, and also the whole business of additionality, because a lot of these organisations rely on money from us, and there's the implications for other funding bodies throughout the borough if we do take this money out. That point I thought was well made.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I reiterate what's been said earlier. I mean, this is the lifeblood to a lot of our small community organisations, and to put this on straight away, and I agree with the councillor who suggested that it be delayed to a further time. But I know we had a conversation around this on our table, and we suggested, as it outlines here, that a reduction would be better than total removal.
Okay, so there's no real support for a total reduction, so we just vote on a removal, sorry, so we vote on a reduction. Yeah? 25%, yeah? Okay, can I have a show of hands who supported that, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Against? 1. Okay, thank you. 2017-18, CO 19, review of customer care provision. One table was not in support. They felt the automated telephone system was not fit for purpose to cope with extra demand, and one table didn't feel it was sufficiently well explained. So should we vote on not supported? We all happy not to support it?
But this is just saying, in other words, that there should be a review or there should not be a review, because it's not quite clear how you're going to actually save 100,000.
Just saying that it's reviewing the provision, and out of that review they'd be looking to make 100,000 saving.
Councillor Brooks.
Yes, the officer at the time was fairly clear in this, that they're going to change it any blooming way. So it's not something it reads support in or otherwise. They are saying that the current system isn't effectively fit for purpose, and they're going to review it and change it anyhow. So at the end of the day, if as a result of doing that, they're going to save £100,000, well done.
We did thoroughly question him, and it was, I believe, sort of licence or something of that ilk, and something that he could usefully do away at that cost. And if there was a saving and something that they could function without that, then fair enough. We did get a thorough questioning of us.
In regarding that, Chair, then, why didn't Councillor Brooks' table come up as being supported then?
He was sat on your table, and he did.
Could I ask for some clarification here from Lynn, perhaps? I mean, given that there were two tables and neither table supported it, according to the information we got in front of us, can we actually vote to support it now, even if we wish to?
Formulating the recommendations now. This is just the output of the workshop. If you feel that you can support that now, then you support it and put that forward as the recommendation.
Councillor Rees.
Just a sort of further point, really. If there were two tables and there were, let's say, there were 5 on each table, 5 people on one table were supportive, and on the other table 3 were against it and 2 were supportive, the overall majority would be supportive. Yet we're voting on whether we should support it or not.
The workshop was your exploration of the issues, and we could, the members that were present had the opportunity to question those. This is the formal meeting for formulating your recommendations.
Just a further point, were the tables supposed to represent the actual scrutiny committees? Yes. And if that's the case, why haven't we got 5 tables' opinions on the report?
The format of the workshop was that each table was set around each scrutiny committee, so they each started on the areas within their portfolios, but it didn't exclude any table from looking at any savings measure, because as you know, the way the budget is formulated, you, as a scrutiny, you do it in a joint scrutiny arena, so you all have the opportunity to scrutinise all the savings proposals put forward, and this year you actually had 3 years proposals presented to you. So we had 5 tables to start with. Each of those started at different points to make sure that we had full coverage. And then on the second workshop, which was a repeat of exactly the same format, but less members attended, we had to condense those tables down to 3.
So, from these comments, shall we vote to support the review of customer care provision then? And I have a show of hands for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not supported. 1, 2. Okay, thank you. CEO 20, integration of the switchboard into Call Torvine and wider organisations' telephony infrastructure. There was 1 table in support, 1 not in support, who felt that an automated telephone system was not fit for purpose to cope with the extra demand. So, can I have a vote who's in support of integrating the switchboard into Call Torvine? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4. Abstaining? Or have I got the figures wrong? Sorry, can I do it again? Who's in support, please? I must have missed somebody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 7. Not in support. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay. CEO 21, reduced number of overview and scrutiny committees and associated support to 3 committees: people, places, policy and resources. Nobody was in support of this. 1 table not in support, as they said, it's not in line with the WAO review of scrutiny and need to more, not less. And 1 table felt it wasn't sufficiently well explained. So, can I have a show of hands for not supporting the reduction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Unanimous. Thank you. CEO 22, restructure of European funding team and cessation of the external funding database. 1 table in support, 1 table not in support, as they felt it wasn't worth the risk of losing capital. Can I have a show of hands in support, please? 1, 2. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you. 2018-19 CEO 25, reduced performance improvement support. 1 table was in support, 1 table was not in support. They don't want to lose the expertise to hold the organisation to account. Can I have a show of hands who is in support, please? 1. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. CEO 28, further reductions in customer service provision. 1 table was in support, 1 table not in support, as again they felt the automated telephone system was not fit for purpose to cope with the extra demand. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. CEO 29, review of registrar's function. 1 table was in support, 1 table was not in support, as they felt it was limited access to the public. Can I have a show of hands who's in support, please? 1. Not in support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you very much, members. That's the end of the recommendations as of the scrutiny workshop. Shall I just bring Lynn in? Oh, sorry, Councillor Rees.
Just 1 question for clarity. In the first thing we looked at, which I think was Appendix 1, which were fully supported decisions. So that means the table supported decisions, not every single member that attended the workshop. Is that correct?
The recommendation going forward to Cabinet will be that the savings proposals outlined in Appendix 1 to the report you've received today were fully supported by the scrutiny committees, with the caveat that you've supported none of them. So if I can just bring it to a conclusion. So it's Cabinet tomorrow. Cabinet will be considering their budget paper, and the intention is that the output of the workshops and your recommendations formulated today will be formally presented to Councillor Hunt tomorrow as the views of scrutiny going forward on the savings proposals for 16-17, 17-18 and 18-19. What we'll do is circulate those to members by the end of today to make sure that you've got those, but that will be the information that will go forward on behalf of the scrutiny committees to the Cabinet tomorrow.
Okay, and can I thank all the officers involved for all the hard work. I felt, and I know a lot of other members felt, the workshops were very informative, very useful and helpful, and I thank every member for their attendance in both the workshops and today. So thank you very much. I'll call the meeting to an end now.
Chair, I think it ought to be noted in regarding the amount of turnout from members in regarding this committee again, though I feel like it is very, very poor in regarding what has been scrutinised as well.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Yes, and I'd like to support that as well, because it depresses me. It does, quite frankly, at the end of the day. But can I also, on behalf of all of the people here, thank you for the way in which you conducted this extremely difficult meeting. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. And again, thank you, members, for your turning up today.
Could I just add and say I've been there, so thank you very much for doing it.